There once was a period of time when I thought that because I had fibromyalgia, I was never going to be able to travel again. One of the things I loved about being in the military is I spent 1 year in Korea. I got to experience things that we don't have in the States. I mean, don't get me wrong, I lived in like 8 or 9 different states in the US over my years, east to west. But as time went by, I actually started having more trouble traveling. So the last place I lived in the States, I lived there for 13 years. I couldn't really fly anymore, or I could, but I had to use oxygen. I still really can't fly, not very well, not without an oxygen machine. But that has led me to have to adapt the way I travel. I thought that dream was dead, but given the location I'm at now, it's obvious it wasn't. I left the States. I moved to the United Kingdom. I followed a dream, and that dream includes travel because I love learning about new cultures. I love experiencing new cultural areas. I still have so many places I want to visit. For me, travel, what it represents freedom, but one of my core tenets in everything I do, and that's learning. Everything I do is about learning. I've always made the joke that my body may be broken, but my mind isn't. Yes, I deal with fibrofog. Yes, I deal with what pain does induce, but my mind's not broken. It's dulled at times, especially when I'm having one of my flares, but it's not broken. Other things that travel says to me, it's the possibility of experiencing new things. It's the possibility of actually seeing and going to those places that I've studied over my life because I'm not a typical TV watcher. For me, TV watching is about documentaries. It's about things I can learn. I know that some people look at travel and think of spontaneity. Unfortunately for us, we have to be more intentional about it. Some people look at travel and they see possibilities, which I won't lie, I do too. Because for me, just being a part of the history is what's important. And sometimes travel is just something you saw was going to be something you were going to do with your life. You were going to work, maybe go and do your vacations and travel places just because you'll want to see something different. Travel was never just about going someplace. It was about feeling like the possibilities were endless. After I realized exactly what was going on, and I realized that the pain was permanent, for the longest time, I thought it would be impossible, that I would never have the possibility of being normal again. And, well, it took me a long time to get over that defeatist mindset because I had basically closed in on myself and decided, well, my life is never going to be anything like what I thought it was going to be. I was never going to be able to travel. I was never going to be able to survive on my own. I was never, never, never. Those words, every single thing I was telling myself, I was never. We use that word a lot. This is never going to go away. This is never going to be tolerable. We're never going to feel like we're not fatigued. It's quite a defeatist mindset, quite frankly. And in some ways, part of that is because most people still don't understand what fibro is. Heck, even the doctors don't really understand. That's why they can never really tell us. They can give us all the platitudes, oh, you just got to exercise and all that other stuff. The stuff that we hate hearing. Because why would we want to exercise when we can barely keep our eyes open because we're so tired. When we can barely lift our arms because we hurt so much. We can barely get out of bed. And it's very distressing. And it is also very something that causes to change how we think of ourselves. Travel feels impossible because we're afraid of the pain. We're afraid of being away from home when we have a flare, or where travel is also tiring when we're already so tired. The fact is, this fibro is also unpredictable. So we plan to go away for 2 weeks and we get hit in the middle of this because we're stressed and because we're seeing so many new things. We go into sensory overload, or we do something and we overdo it. And then we feel like we can't leave the hotel room for 2 days. Makes us wonder, is it worth it? What makes travel hardest for you? Pain, fatigue, flares, or worrying about other people? And that's only a question you can answer yourself. Or maybe we ask ourselves that Will we ruin it for others around us? Because, say, we have to stay in the hotel room while everybody else goes out, or maybe everybody feels like they can't go because you can't go. So, of course, what are we doing it? We're ruining the trip for the others. That's unfortunately something that, well, we are always telling ourselves. Prime example is why I refused to go back to school for so long. I didn't want to take away from somebody else's ability to. But when are we going to stop thinking about others constantly? Because sometimes we do need to think about ourselves too. It's not just, can I go? It's about what happens if we do go. What if we can't keep up? What if we have a flare? What if, what if, what if? We drowned in the what ifs, and it stops us from following what we want to do. And it also is us telling ourselves that because we're sick, we don't matter. And that is not the truth. The fact is we can't travel in what is considered normal. But as I said before, normal for who? Maybe we can't travel the way everybody does, but that does not mean we can't travel. We just have to plan ahead. When I take a flight, instead of taking the normal 2 hours that they tell you that you need to be there before your flight, I take 4 because I've got to account for extra things, going into lines, being able to get help to get from the ticket counter to the gate. You've got to wait more than others. You've got to get on that plane differently. And some might find that embarrassing. I know I did in the beginning, but that does not mean that it makes you worth less. You're still following your dreams. You're still doing what you want to do. The fact is our methods change, not our abilities. We can find ways around the limitations that fibro puts on us. The question is, do we want to? And if we want to, question is, are we willing to put the work in? Plan a trip that's a little bit longer. Give yourself room to have downtime. Don't constantly plan back-to-back excursions. Give yourself a day or so in between. Give yourself the room to be able to do what you need to do. My partner lived on a canal boat for 10 years. And we did do one trip of an excursion with me on the boat. Unfortunately for me, the boat was not conducive to my body. The constant rocking, the micromanaging of my body, it did not work with my fibro. So we decided that because both of us like to travel, because neither one of us can really do planes. I mean, he's got COPD and I've got the asthma, as well as damage done due to the medications I used to be on. I need oxygen, and I'm not so sure he can fly well either. So we decided we were going to do something a little different. We can't do the canal boat. So he sold it and we used the money to buy a van. It was professionally converted. And it was all about enabling us to do some of the travel we want to do in a way that was more conducive to our bodies. We're taking longer trips. He's retired and I'm a YouTuber. So we're able to do this. It gives us the ability to travel in a way that is conducive for our bodies. We're building in longer time frames because that means we've got the days in between we do stuff. We don't have to move. We don't have all the transitions. We've got a vehicle. It's less stress. But for right now, we're just trying this out. We've had one short 3-day excursion, and it taught us some things about this van that has not been good for me. So we're making adaptations. We're trying to prioritize our bodies over giving up the ability to travel by using a van. What helps you adapt? Rest days, shorter travel, mobility aids, extra planning, or something else? Ultimately, the goal is not to travel like I don't have fibro. It's about traveling in a way that respects my fibro. And it's also allowing me to live my dream in a way that is conducive to living with fibro. It's not about pretending I can do everything. It's about creating a way of traveling that actually respects my disability instead of fighting it. Fibro did change my relationship with what I thought travel was. When I originally thought of travel, I was thinking about what I did when I was in the military, taking 12, 24-hour trips, jet lag, going places and spending days on end doing nothing but experiencing the cultures and everything. But it's not that way anymore. It caused me to grieve who I thought I was. And it actually forced me to adapt my my life in a way that fit my life. But you know what? In that forcing, yeah, it made me adapt. But who's the one that's on top? That would be me, because I'm still doing it. Whenever you look at what your dreams are, you're still allowed to want things. You're still allowed to make plans, and you're still allowed to follow those dreams. Yeah, maybe the method is different, but that does not mean they're in the realm of impossibility. So if that helps you, feel free to stick around. I know how isolating fibromyalgia can feel, so I have started a Discord where my hope is that people can come, talk, share experiences, and just feel less alone. I'll leave a link to that below. And if you'd rather reach out privately, I am including my email as well. These videos are written from my own personal experiences. They are not meant as a medical diagnosis. They're not meant as medical advice. I'm just trying to share ways that I've learned to deal with the illness from over 3 decades of experience.